New Jersey, truly an iconic northeastern U.S. state, known for its bustling metropolises and its proximity to New York, while at the same time defined by its green, tranquil forests. It was one of the original 13 colonies and is home to many of America's historic townships. Coincidentally, it is also the birthplace of a monster. Along the coast exists one of the last remaining Atlantic pine forests, famously known as the Pine Barrens. Supposedly dating back to prehistoric times, this primeval woodland spans more than 1 million square acres, stretching across 7 different counties. Characterized mostly by dense forest, the Pine Barrens also contains large swaths of bog and marshland, a natural attribute that formed the basis of local colonial industries such as the production of tar and bog iron. Certainly an appropriate setting for a story that dates back to the 1700s. The year is 1735. A local woman of the name Jane Leeds is preparing for the birth of her 13th child. Woefully tired of so many pregnancies and responsibility for so many children, out of pure frustration, Leeds curses her 13th child, declaring that it shall be the devil. While those surrounding Leeds through the final days of her pregnancy casually dismissed such a seemingly ridiculous declaration, they went on to prepare for a normal birth. With the night of the birth upon them, Jane Leeds lie in bed in labor, being comforted by family and friends alongside a local doctor and midwife. While everything seemed normal at first, Leeds soon began to bleed, with a puddle of red blood pooling on the floor. Upon closer inspection, the doctor noticed that the blood on the floor was turning darker, reminiscent of a black, tar-like substance. A few moments later, Leeds was said to retch violently several times. By some accounts, she even appeared to levitate briefly over the bed. Still bleeding, now almost uncontrollably, Leeds was able to continue to push, with the doctor from under the sheets just a few minutes later, producing a tiny but unrecognizable baby. As the midwife proceeded to clean the baby using a bucket of spring water, the water would reveal a horror unlike anyone in the room that night had ever seen. This was no ordinary child. By all accounts, it was anything but human. Agitated, the creature leapt from the midwife's hands, struck the doctor with what appeared to be a blunt spear on the end of its tail, and landed near the grave of the fireplace. With a glass-shattering shriek, the creature disappeared up the chimney and vanished into the night. No one knew what became of the 13th Leeds child, but perhaps it was no coincidence that soon after its birth, strange stories began to circulate among residents of the Pine Barrens. Sightings of a horrific, unrecognizable creature in the towns around the Pine Barrens dominated conversations between concerned citizens. Many of the accounts were the same, descriptive of a fast-moving creature hurling through the air emitting a high-pitched, horrible scream. And through close association with the Leeds family and the story of the infamous 13th child, it wasn't long before the creature was spoken of as the Leeds Devil. While the story of the Leeds Devil had not yet reached beyond the confines of the Pine Barrens, one notable encounter would soon attract much broader attention. Renowned Revolutionary War hero Commodore Stephen Decatur was visiting Hanover on official business, commissioning cannonballs to be made for one of his warships. One evening at the cannonball factory, the official, along with several others, heard a piercing shriek from over the horizon. As the jarring noise grew louder, off in the distance, the general witnessed an oddly shaped, flying object moving far faster than any conventional bird. The group watched in horror as the terrifying creature dipped in and out of view. Panicked, the Commodore ordered an immediate test fire of one of his newly manufactured cannonballs. The cannonball was fired, yielding a direct hit on the strange creature with little effect. While the creature did screech, it maintained flight and flew off over the horizon. Shaken, the Commodore was quick to share his account of the incident with the public. Soon after, the now infamous Leeds Devil would make yet another high-profile appearance. Joseph Bonaparte, the elder brother of Napoleon Bonaparte, had sought exile in New Jersey. One night, while out hunting on his estate, he noticed a rather large, strange-looking object flying over a forested area adjacent to his property. Much like other encounters, Bonaparte described a loud, piercing shriek, echoing off in the distance. While the incident was brief, it would prompt Bonaparte to share about his encounter, further amplifying local curiosity. The legend of the Leeds Devil, born out of the 1700s, would be carried on and shared for centuries, and strange occurrences in the area would often be attributed to the fabled creature. Farmers would report livestock missing. Hunters would find bizarre hoof prints in the snow. Deer would be found oddly mutilated. Fast forward to the year 1909. While the legend of the Leeds Devil had maintained a narrative in the backdrop of local culture, a rash of sightings would once again launch the famous beast onto the front page of newspapers throughout the region. In a single week in January 1909, hundreds of sightings were reported. Officially sanctioned hunting parties searched for the beast. One account even claimed that the creature attacked a trolley car, and local authorities offered a $10,000 reward for the devil's capture. By now, the creature's description had become more comprehensive than it had been in years prior. Witnesses described the devil as a hooved creature that walks on two legs and flies on enormous bat-like wings. It has blood-red eyes, horns, and a forked tail. Some describe its head as being oversized and similar in shape to that of a horse or kangaroo. Its cry was consistently described as a high-pitched, piercing shriek. A renewed local fascination with the creature, prompted by the rash of sightings in 1909, would prompt an evolution of the legend, with new details of the story and even new exaggerations. Perhaps most notably, the beast, once known as the Leeds Devil, would now be more broadly known as the Jersey Devil. Following the rash of sightings in 1909 and associated reaction, experts were quick to decry the stories that were circulating among residents in the Pine Barrens. Medical sociologist Robert E. Bartholomew diagnosed the week-long episode as an outbreak of mass hysteria. Others dismissed the stories while pointing out that the area coincidentally harbors an abundance of similar local legends. Among the most notable are the ghostly white stag, Barghists, ghost girls, and the phantom of the famed corsair, Captain Kidd. But after the cluster of sightings in 1909, it wasn't long before the story of the Jersey Devil retreated into the backdrop of local legend. In modern times, the famed Jersey Devil and the tenets of its historic legacy make headlines. In 2008, a strange animal corpse, said to be that of the Jersey Devil, was photographed in nearby Montauk, New York. While some were quick to claim that the creature's strange body indeed belonged to the Jersey Devil, others disputed this, noting that the body did not match any typical description of the legendary creature. Today, the Jersey Devil continues to elude the public and tease our collective imagination. The mystery surrounding this ominous creature attracts thousands of tourists annually to the area, where businesses have harnessed the story to drive the local economy. But what is the Jersey Devil exactly? Surely a creature with such an unusual identity possesses a unique origin. Given the prehistoric nature of the Pine Barrens, perhaps the devil is the descendant of an ancient animal, yet undiscovered. Or perhaps there's a more historical explanation. During its early history, the Pine Barrens were a hotbed of illegal activity. Native tribes and loyalist bandits used the forest as a hideout. Maybe the legend was born out of their desire to evade potential captors. I guess there's always the possibility that Jane Lee's curse really did take hold. Of course, there's no way to prove that yet. So for now, all we have are legends and the devoted efforts of those who believe in this fantastic beast. The Louisiana Bayous. Long have they been a source of myths and legends in the backdrop of American culture. These miles of treacherous marshland are home to all manner of wild beasts, not to mention other natural hazards. But beyond its common inhabitants, these wetlands are said to be home to something far more uncommon. St. Tammany is a parish in the southeastern corner of Louisiana, deep in Cajun country. Many of its towns exist in isolated pockets, their way of life largely unchanged since the first settlers arrived centuries ago. The parish contains a large swath of marshland called Honey Island Swamp, and within this natural preserve, the locals of St. Tammany believe that a monster lurks. The legend of this monster dates back to the first French colonists of the Louisiana Territory. The Catholic settlers believed that a creature lived in the swamps and woods of the New World, one they called the Rougarou. The creature was supposedly very similar to what most would identify as a werewolf. It was large, hairy, and hunted down any Catholic who broke the rules of Lent. Anyone who survived being cut by the Rougarou's claws or teeth would become one themselves. The French believed that the creature was summoned by the spells of a voodoo witch, yet it's possible that its origin actually predates this theory. The nearby Seminole tribe had similar legends descriptive of a tall, hairy creature that inhabited their swampland. Its most notable feature, however, was its unbearable stench. It purportedly smelled even fouler than the swamp, though legend suggested that one could never even catch wind of it until it was too late. As time wore on, the legend of the Rougarou evolved as Louisiana incorporated into the United States, at which point this particular creature was adorned with its more widely recognized title, after the place where it would be encountered most frequently, the Honey Island Swamp Monster. While the story remained a local legend for centuries, it wasn't until 1963 that encounters with the creature began to surface. The first of which involved a local man named Harlan Ford. Ford, an air traffic controller by trade, was also a hobbyist wildlife photographer. With a notable respect for the swamplands within which he lived, he set out one day for a leisurely trip to film birds and admire the surrounding natural beauty. So far, a fairly uneventful day. As Ford was preparing to head home, something in the distance catches his eye. Ford does a double take Startled, he almost puts down the camera, but instead, something compels him to keep shooting. Whatever he saw comes and goes in an instant. A dark, imposing figure, unlike anything he had seen in the swamp before. Ford is lucky enough to have captured its movement through the trees with 8mm footage. The footage clearly shows a bipedal creature navigating its way through the underbrush with surprising agility. For Harlan Ford, this initial sighting would spark a lifelong fascination with this mysterious creature. He worked to socialize the story among family, friends, and throughout the parish. In 1974, Ford enlists the help of his friend Billy Mills to help him locate the monster once again. As the two men scoured the vast swamplands, they would stumble upon the body of a wild boar. Its throat had been flayed open. It was clear to Ford that this was no ordinary predatory encounter. The two men theorized that only a creature of immense strength and size would have been capable of such a wound, especially given a boar's inborn aggressive and defensive nature. Intrigued, the two searched for more evidence as to what could have been responsible for the attack. Nearby, they discovered a set of distinct footprints leading away from the body. The tracks were clearly from a bipedal animal. But unlike all known bipedals, the prints had 4 toes instead of 5, and they appeared to be reptilian. Plaster casts were made of the evidence and brought back to town. Upon their return, the two men, shaken from their discovery, shared what they had found. Their story about a mysterious, monstrous creature would soon explode across Louisiana and beyond. It is through Harlan Ford's accounts that we have the most detailed description of the Honey Island swamp monster. According to Ford, the creature stands 7 feet in height, with wide-set shoulders, and is covered from head to toe in shaggy, grayish hair. Unlike the Rougarou, however, Ford describes the monster as being ape-like in appearance. Its face, he claims, had amber eyes with decidedly human-like features. But the most notable of its attributes is its putrid stench, which is reported to be even worse than that of the swamp itself. It is through this description that the monster earned some of its enduring nicknames, including the Cajun Sasquatch and the Louisiana Wookiee. Attention and fascination surrounding this elusive creature soon spread across the entire nation. It exists as something of a curiosity, an exciting legend about the inherently fascinating Cajun country. Over the years, various sightings continue to be reported from the locals of the parish, and it was through these stories that the creature's reputation took shape. As a formidable and aggressive monster, many disappearances of both livestock and even children throughout the area would be attributed to the creature. For scientists who have weighed in on the phenomena, many have remained skeptical, pointing to evidence that such large animals could not be supported by the local ecosystem. Though skepticism has done little to quiet the public's fascination with this captivating cryptid. Although the Honey Island swamp monster is not as widely known as the more mainstream Bigfoot, there is a small yet dedicated group of enthusiasts working tirelessly to prove the creature's existence. At the forefront of these efforts is Dana Holyfield. Dana is Harlan Ford's granddaughter, and has made it her mission to preserve his legacy by finding the monster. According to Holyfield, Ford was an even-tempered man, unlikely to invent such a fantastical story on a whim. Tour companies along the swamp's tributary, the Pearl River, also allow tourists to try their hand at hunting for the beast. These tours utilize the legend as an attraction and as part of their guest experience. But the question still remains: where did the Honey Island swamp monster come from? How did it ever reach such an isolated part of the country? Several theories have been circulating since the creature's first appearance. One such theory claims that in 1920, a passing circus train crashed next to the St. Tammany Parish Bayou. A group of chimpanzees were thus able to escape capture and fled into the swamp. These escaped primates then interbred with the local alligator population. The resulting offspring was a hybrid creature that would eventually become the Honey Island swamp monster. Another theory posits that the Honey Island swamp monster is just one member in a genus of ape-like humanoids found throughout the world. After all, the creature's physical description matches that of other large humanoids, including the Yeti of the Himalayas, the Sasquatch of Middle America, and Florida's very own skunk ape. It's possible that each creature is a different species of the same family of large ape-like humanoids, with the Honey Island swamp monster being adapted specifically to a swamp-like environment. Whatever the story, the legend persists, and the Honey Island swamp monster remains as unusual as it is elusive. Though it may bear resemblance to similar creatures, it very much has its own identity and story. But will that story ever be proven true, once and for all? If the monster is really out there, it's keeping its secrets well hidden, for now. We'd like to especially thank Dana Holyfield for granting us permission to use some of the original 8mm footage, along with some of her own work. Dana has published a variety of compelling content about the Honey Island swamp monster, as well as life on the Pearl River. I would encourage each of you to check out her website at honeyislandswampmonster.com and also her own YouTube channel. The links are in the description below. Indonesia. Thousands of tiny islands form this expansive nation in Southeast Asia. Despite a population of 273 million, many of these islands are completely deserted. A terrain full of endless jungles, brimming with plants and animals, found nowhere else in the world. But there is one creature here that is even more uncommon than the rest. So rare, in fact, that many doubt its existence entirely. A creature that does not appear until the sun goes down. Local folklore speaks of a demonic monster that terrorizes the islands in the night. A mysterious being that few have encountered and lived to tell the tale. But one man, a naturalist by the name Dr. Ernest Bartels, would be the first to speak of a terrifying encounter with the creature. The son of a famed ornithologist, Bartels has journeyed to the Salak Mountains on the island of Java in pursuit of his own research. The year is 1925. Today, Bartels stops beside a waterfall while hiking the slopes. Suddenly, a massive shadow passes overhead before disappearing entirely. Bartels is shaken but doesn't know what to make of the encounter. He's familiar with the island, but struggles to identify what he saw that day. Though thoroughly confused, the incident does not deter Bartel's resolve. 2 years later, he returns to Java on a second expedition, and this time will prove to be far more eventful. A noise awakens Bartels in the night, a strange wailing sound. He scans the darkness for the source of these eerie, mournful cries, and movement off in the distance catches the corner of his eye. As his eyes adjust to the darkness, Bartels notices a curiously shaped object flying overhead. It was massive. The object, shrouded in black and difficult to discern, was flying low, and as it turned in Bartel's direction, its piercing shriek grew unbearably loud. Bartels closed his eyes, and in that instant, the creature was gone. Bartels returns to bed, terrified. Hours later, once calm, he falls asleep. Bartels tells his friends and colleagues the next day, speculating that he may have discovered some kind of new species, even absent a more conclusive sighting. However, his friends dismiss him outright, doubting the veracity of his story. Only a cryptozoologist by the name of Ivan T. Anderson takes interest in Bartel's account, and this is partially due to the fact that Sanderson himself recounts his own similar experiences. He claims to have encountered a similar sort of creature in the mountains of West Africa, who the locals described as a giant bat-like animal. Sanderson explains that the Javanese have their own version of the legend, a creature named Ahool. The name Ahool comes from the forlorn sound the creature emits as it hunts in the night. It is thought to be almost entirely nocturnal and relies on echolocation to locate its prey. The Javanese fear Ahool, believing that it will indiscriminately snatch human victims with its enormous claws. Though Bartel's encounter with Ahool was inconclusive, various descriptions were cross-referenced with his own accounts. According to these sources, Ahool is exceptionally large for any flying animal with a wingspan estimated to be between 18 and 30 feet. This would make it roughly 4 times larger than the largest known bat, the flying fox. However, some sources claim that Ahool is actually a winged primate and not a bat. Though it has bat-like wings, its body is said to be remarkably similar to a chimpanzee. Regardless, the Ahool maintains its reputation as an aggressive and violent predator. Local witnesses state that the creature has a ravenous appetite for blood and is known to carry off humans as their prey. Ahool is known to ceremoniously decapitate its victims, devouring their head and discarding the rest of the body. Some sources even report that Ahool will cannibalize each other if desperate enough for food. Similar myths and sightings have been reported in other parts of the world, including Papua New Guinea and even as far as Portugal. All accounts tell of a vicious, winged creature patrolling the night skies, and all reportedly bear a striking resemblance to Ahool. Similar creatures that have been likened to Ahool include Ropin of the South Pacific, the legendary Camazotz of Mexico, and the mysterious bat squatch of North America. One other notable analogous creature hails from Seram, another island in Indonesia. This creature is known as the Orang Pati, which roughly translates to man with wings in the indigenous language. Just like Ahool, Orang Pati is described as an enormously large, nocturnal flying ape, or bat, that feeds on flesh and blood. Reports of encounters have too noted the creature's characteristic, mournful howls. The beast is something of a boogeyman among islanders, a monster believed to snatch away children in the night. Missionaries of the 15th century would share such stories to warn the locals against sin, encouraging them to convert to Christianity. Even as recently as 1987, missionaries have described the monster through their records. English missionary Tyson Hughes was a skeptic until he reportedly saw the beast and informed the wider world of its existence. However, the answer to Ahool's origin may lie in science and not religion. It is entirely possible that what Bartels and the others encountered was a descendant of the pterosaurs. The pterosaurs were prehistoric flying reptiles, cousins to the dinosaurs. Though believed to be long extinct, some believe in the possibility that an evolved descendant may exist. Some pterosaurs, known as the Azdarchids, could be as big, if not larger, than Ahool. These majestic flying creatures had wingspans exceeding 40 feet when soaring through the skies of the Cretaceous. If any of their descendants had survived, its size would make it a likely candidate for these sightings. Or perhaps there's a much more simple answer. Maybe Ahool is just an undiscovered species of giant bat, one larger than any scientists had previously thought possible. Certainly, prehistoric vampire bats have also existed, some as recently as 100,000 years ago. The megabat species Desmodus dracula was among the largest. This link could be possible, given Ahool's nocturnal behavior. Unfortunately, Ahool hasn't garnered as much attention as other cryptids, and thorough investigations have yet to be financed. Largely, the creature remains unheard of outside of Indonesia and the South Pacific. This and other factors make it impossible to know the truth about Ahool exactly. Beyond Bartel's 2 encounters, there are few recorded sightings of the beast. Most information comes from hearsay and centuries of local superstition. But it should also be taken into account the stealth-like tendencies of nighttime flyers, especially bats. It is entirely possible that while we are still hunting for Ahool, Ahool may be hunting us.
Antarctica, the largest desert on planet Earth. The massive 7th continent is the only one never to have a native human population, and even without humanity's presence, Antarctica is almost entirely devoid of life. With a record lowest temperature of -144 degrees Fahrenheit, it is the coldest, driest, and windiest place in the world. To this day, the vast majority of the continent remains undiscovered. This freezing desert continent retains its many secrets, despite numerous research bases from 30 separate countries. One of those secrets may not be on the land, but under the icy waves. In recent years, it has been rumored that something has appeared in the waters around the continent. Something that has never before been seen. The strange entity was first mentioned on on a Japanese chat forum in 2002. The post claimed that a government-sponsored whale research team had sighted an unidentified object swimming through the waters around Antarctica. All information was allegedly taken from the testimony of a crew member known only as F-san. According to F-san's story, the team first thought they had crossed a whale, but upon closer inspection, posited that it might be a submarine instead. Although it was difficult to see, the researcher claimed that the object was huge and milky white. Then, it submerged and vanished entirely from view. Apparently, the Japanese government has vested interest in the creature, F-san says, and underreports the number of whales inhabiting the waters around the South Pole. F-san claims these creatures are abundant in Antarctic waters, though the government has made no official statement about them. Posts would continue to circulate the internet about this outlandish creature. As the legend grew, photographs and videos began to leak about reported sightings. These videos are purported from official scientific research teams and professional fishermen. In 2010, the clearest video of the creature surfaced from the underwater camera of a deep-sea research team. While exploring the depths, a weird animal approaches the camera. Although it is difficult to make out, two glowing eyes and a slit-like mouth can be seen in the video. In a twisted way, the creature in question seems almost human-like in appearance. Due to its bizarre anthropomorphic features, the creature is named Ningen by F-san after a pop song. The Japanese forum users are quick to adopt the term as well. In Japanese, the word Ningen directly translates to human. Based on the posted images and videos, members of the chat room have reconstructed a possible physical appearance of the Ningen. They describe an almost hybrid-like creature, a cross between a human and a whale. The Ningen's body is smooth and milky white, similar to a beluga, while its body is uncannily human. It is said to be often indistinguishable from glaciers and chunks of floating ice. The creature also possesses long, slender arms with 5 spindly fingers at the end. It has 2 black, beady eyes and a slit-like, toothless mouth. Otherwise, its face is smooth and lacks facial features. But perhaps most surprising of all is the creature's sheer size. The Ningen's total length is estimated to be between 65 and 100 feet. This is the equivalent length of a full-grown blue whale. By far, this is the largest cryptid ever reported, and one of the most recent. Ningen eventually became so popular that in November 2007, an article was published in MU magazine. This mainstream attention helps spread Ningen's story outside of Japan and into the international sphere. Soon, the creature had become just as sensational in Western countries. As a result, the internet quickly explodes with theories and stories about this enigmatic creature. One user even posts that Ningen could be seen on Google Maps just off the coast of Namibia. Judging from the scale of the image, other users determine that the object in question is roughly 80 feet in length, well within the average size range of Ningen. But how did such a gargantuan animal escape human contact for so long? The answer may lie in how recently the creature was reported. Since the dawn of the 20th century, climate change has depleted the ice sheets in Earth's polar regions. The destruction of the planet's ecosystems has worsened with every passing year. While many natural habitats have disappeared, rapid climate change may have had other effects. Perhaps the Ningen had long been frozen in the ice, preserved for an unknown period. With rising temperatures melting the ice, it is entirely possible that the Ningen could have been released from its icy prison. This hypothesis would imply that the Ningen is ancient, perhaps even from prehistory. Throughout natural history, numerous species of carnivorous whales have reached such titanic proportions. Maybe the Ningen is one of these ancestors of modern cetaceans that have been resurrected after thousands, if not millions of years. Yet it's possible that a broader conspiracy has obfuscated the information for so long. F. San's account frequently references Japanese whaling operations and how the government underreports the size of whale populations. So, have they concocted the story of Ningen as an excuse to expand otherwise illegal whaling operations? Or are they hunting the Ningen itself? With such little evidence, it is impossible to say anything for sure at this juncture. However, this hasn't stopped any skeptics from voicing their opinions. Many scientists have dismissed the existence of the Ningen outright. They claim that these photographs and videos have either been faked or are other creatures that have been misidentified, such as belugas or manta rays. One photo was even believed to be a snaggletooth eel. None of this has detracted the internet from wanting to believe, however. With fewer cryptids taking prominence in the broader conversation of this modern age, the community is always excited to have a new mystery to solve. And so much of the creature's history remains open to discovery. After only 20 years, there still exists a host of opportunities for new sightings and research. Ningen's identity has also evolved with the advent of meme culture. Its simultaneously silly and horrifying appearance has made it the perfect curiosity amongst internet users and posters of creepypastas. Real or not, the Ningen has undoubtedly left an impression. Its unique origin story and appearance make it a highly unusual creature, even as cryptids go. However, being so young on the scene, it is entirely possible that the most significant entrance into the world is yet to come.
Antarctica is a realm of death. Remote, cold, dry, and nearly lifeless. It's one of the most hostile environments on Earth. But if the stories are true, in 2012, a team of Russian researchers discovered a living menace more horrifying than any of the known threats that haunt the frozen continent. Dr. Anton Padalka and his team of Russian researchers claim to have encountered a massive, hostile beast while stationed at a secluded research camp on the East Antarctic ice sheet. Dubbed Organism 46b, the creature was said to resemble a giant squid and possess exceptionally high intelligence. The story begins at Vostok Station, an Antarctic research outpost established by the Soviet Union back in 1957. The station was located at the southern pole of cold, the coldest spot on the surface of the Earth. In 1983, they documented a temperature of negative 128 degrees Fahrenheit, the lowest ever recorded. Over the decades, many experiments and studies were conducted, including a lot of ice core drilling. Ice cores taken from glaciers contain bubbles of the atmosphere from eons ago, offering insight into the climate and environment at the time. In 1974, ice-penetrating radar surveys revealed a subglacial lake resting more than 2 miles below the ice sheet where Vostok Station was camped. It was a freshwater lake and was found to be the 6th largest subglacial lake in the world, measuring 160 by 30 miles in area and a quarter-mile deep. Even more intriguing is that it's been entombed in miles of ice for as long as 25 million years. It's a time capsule from another age. Scientists predicted that exotic life forms likely existed down in the lake. Antarctica was already known for bizarre creatures like the hairy-chested yeti crabs that feed on the bacteria they cultivate on their own bodies, or the 7-armed sea stars that could kill the Yeti crabs. Anything was possible. After 30 years of drilling on February 5th, 2012, an expedition of Russian Antarctic researchers drilled the deepest core ever made through 12,400 feet of ice and tapped into the subglacial pocket of water. It was dubbed Lake Vostok after the science station above it. Testing its waters, the scientists reported evidence of microbes, bacteria, and fungi that were all part of a unique ecosystem. Then things got strange. An 8-man team was sent down to explore the lake, and they suddenly went silent. A complete blackout with the surface. Days went by and still no signal came from the expedition team. Frantic radio attempts failed. For 5 days, there was no word, and scientists from around the world following the team feared that they may be lost. What nobody knew was that the expedition was fighting desperately to stay alive in the alien realm that they had discovered. On their first day down, as they conducted a preliminary dive in their highly insulated wetsuits, they encountered a huge, horrifying creature, what they labeled Organism 46B. Dr. Padalka claims that the animal came out of nowhere and deliberately destroyed their radio, as if it knew this would cut them off from the surface. He described the monster as a 33-foot-long, squid-like giant with 14 grasping tentacles. Upon its first attack, the team's only female member hacked off one of the muscular tentacles. The agitated limb continued to move long after it was severed, as if it had a mind of its own. Experts note that a severed octopus tentacle, which will regenerate, can sometimes function after it's cut off because it has its own neural network. The creature is said to have extraordinary powers of camouflage as well, another trait much like the color-changing octopus, which can disappear against a coral reef or a sandy seafloor like a chameleon. But even more terrifying, Organism 46B was said to release a toxin that could paralyze a victim up to 150 feet away. While on a second dive in the lake, the creature reappeared and deployed its poison into the water. One of the divers was immobilized, and his colleague reported the man wearing a blissful smile on his face as the monster grabbed him, tore off his head, and stuffed it into its gaping mouth. Padalka said it was as if the creature had hypnotized his colleague before it started eating him alive. In addition, Organism 46B exhibited an otherworldly ability to shapeshift and morph itself into different forms, blending in almost seamlessly against the underwater environment. Another scientist unknowingly swam too close, and the organism attacked him and tore him in half. From what they could observe, the creature had alarmingly high intelligence, another trait that it shared with the octopus. According to Dr. Padalka, quote, "From the way it adapted each time we changed our tactics, we became convinced it is at least as intelligent as an average human." Incredibly, the survivors managed to capture the creature in a tank and haul it out of its element and back up to the surface at Vostok Station. The geologists who brought all this to official attention fully expected to be honored for their breakthrough discovery and for their extraordinary courage. Instead, the Russian government denied the discovery of anything unusual. The chief at the Vostok research station announced that nothing had been found, though behind the scenes, others admitted things were kept quiet as a routine precaution. Dr. Padalka later claimed the creature was being kept hidden because the Russian government had plans to weaponize the organism. Padalka noted that some species of octopus lay 200,000 eggs at a time, and he speculates what that would mean if Organism 46B were unleashed in the lakes and reservoirs across America. While the story is harrowing, a lot of critics insist the whole thing is a hoax. A number of elements of the story don't quite add up. First, ice core drill bores are deep but thin. They're only a few inches in diameter. A team of scuba divers could never have been sent down, nor could they lower down or bring back up a tank large enough to haul a 33-foot squid through 2 miles of solid ice. Plus, the water and air pressure under that much glacier would be unendurable. As for the eyewitness to it all, Dr. Padalka, He himself is imaginary, the invention of fiction author C. Michael Forsyth. But even so, some experts suggest there's evidence that Russian scientists did uncover something horrifying underneath Vostok Station. As the Arctic seas are filled with untold terrors and life-threatening dangers, they posit that its absence in the public eye could be a sign of possible insidious intent. My name is Scott, and thank you so much for watching. We are Mystery Syndicate. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Leave a comment and give this video a like. And to be notified when we post new videos, hit that notification bell. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Patreon. And for exclusive merchandise, visit our website at www.mysterysyndicate.com. From all of us at Mystery Syndicate, thank you again. We sincerely appreciate your support.